Hi, friends. I thought it'd be good to speak to you a little bit about the Brackley book, in particular, Chapter 2, which is called Free to Love. A couple of thoughts I have about that chapter. I think some of the concepts are not necessarily intuitive. Um, Dorothy Day has a quote in there in the first or second page, which is to respond with love to a world which seems to have gone wrong in fundamental ways, a broken world. We must get free to love. We need to find a way to love better and over the long haul. So many people have said similar things. Gandhi and Martin Luther King. We need new ways of being and loving to bring the world to its highest possibilities. Here's a photo of Dorothy Day. Just a classic stubborn confrontation that she's known for with traditional forces, male, armed, threatening. Yet here she is, peacefully, stubbornly situated there and refusing to move. This cost her a lot of jail time, and she's not the first who have found this force more powerful. The second thing is that the language that Ignatius will use and in his spiritual exercise, and we won't be reading those directly, but Brackley knows that some of the language he uses is a little bit antiquated. He was, after all, a 16th century priest, and the language we would use for God and for our worldviews back then were different from the way that we would today. There's literal mythic religious language all over the spiritual exercises. An example is in the chapter here. Human beings, Ignatius would say, are created to praise, reverence, and serve God our Lord, and by this means save our souls. Save our souls from what would be a good conversation in its own right. But another way to say that, which would be getting at the same essence in a little more of a contemporary way, would be this, a psychological equivalent. Human beings attain their highest possibilities, their ultimate fulfillment, by learning to love. Same concept. And a good teacher of mine, a favorite teacher, friend, and still mentor of mine, used to say that if the theology is good, it is also good psychology, and we should be suspicious of theology that is not. Ignatius's spiritual exercises are all over the place in modern psychological theories of discernment and good decision making. Another point that seems to need to be made is the paradox of freedom, especially when we speak of musts and shalt nots. Religious rules, as I was raised to hear them, were all about things I must not do, and that does not seem like freedom to me. And so I came to understand a few years ago, well, maybe, in my early years of teaching, that the way Jews especially saw the laws given to them at Mount Sinai is very different. I don't know what just happened there, but I'm going to go back to my current slide. The way the Jews experience God's laws, the Ten Commandments, and in fact the 600 laws of Moses in particular, is that in their experience, much of the grief that they have suffered over time, they bring upon themselves with stupid choices. They are slaves to bad decision making. And so thanks be to God for these rules that spare us all this suffering. Here are some examples. One of the rules of marriage, which I enjoy, is that thou shalt not commit adultery. The point here is not that the contrary desires for other people are gone, that once I'm married, suddenly I no longer find other people attractive, that in my 50 perhaps years I'll get blessed with marriage, I'm not going to meet other people that would make interesting relationships for me. The point is that these desires will not steer me away from my commitment, from the marriage I have invested in. My marriage frees me, loving my wife and my kids, frees me to enjoy a home environment which I value above much else. And if I was to forget that fact for a short-term pleasure, it would be tragic, and a lot of people would suffer. Some other examples that that are easier to understand now than when I was a child is thou shalt not have other gods before me. I didn't even know what that meant as a child. Now I do, though, because I watch people, and I'm not immune to it myself, who spend so much time, invest so much life energy, for example, in material acquisition, that it gets in the way of their good choosing. I'm not a huge materialist, but I love walking around in a sporting goods store. A water ski shop. Snow skis are always enchanting to me, but I try not to fixate on them. I certainly am not going to spend time looking at advertisements for the newest skis every year, because that looking and looking just inflames my desire for it, and it's not what matters to me. And so idolatry, it could be any number of things, personal vanity or materialism, but these things can make it difficult for us to decide what will make us happiest. There's a sinking ship analogy that I have heard used before. If my wife and I were going on a trip and we wanted to bring a lot of our valuables, perhaps we're going to travel to another country for a month or something like that, and the ship started going down, I might say to my wife, wait, don't jump for the lifeboat. We have stuff. Our stuff is going down. And my wife might say, are you kidding me? How can you think of our stuff at a time like this? And I'll say, but these are our family photo albums, or our money, our safe, who knows what it is I might have had on the ship. And she would say, is that stuff so important that you're willing to die for it? What matters most? And that's really a little dramatic. That's really what's at stake when we're trying to think of our various desires, distinguishing things that really matter from things that don't. Here's an example I thought I'd throw at you just for fun, because it happened to my golf team just this month. We found out that somebody placed our graduation ceremony on the very night of our state golf tournament 3 hours away. And I said to my seniors, I am so sorry to ask you to make this choice, but now that we know we have this conflict, you guys have to decide if you're going to go to our graduation ceremony, and if you're going to go to the all-night senior party, or if you're going to go to the state golf tournament. And this is a crummy choice, and neither choice would be morally superior, but each person, each athlete, had to think very carefully about what mattered to them. And how do they go about doing this? Well, for my boys, this boy in particular was a state champion. I have had league champions and state champions in my last recent years, and these guys have worked very, very hard for the outcome of another trophy. And for them to think about an all-night party versus that was a painful but easy choice to make. My senior boys want to play golf. My senior girls also found this choice difficult. They love golf. They value it. But they have never placed at state. To get there is a great thing, and they enjoy it for fun. But what they enjoy mostly every time we go play is each other's company. It was not surprising to me when the parents of the senior girls said, we are so sorry, but our girls want to go to the all-night party. This is the last great night of their 4 years of friendship development, and it just matters more. It's not that golf does not matter. I hope you understand. And I said, oh, no, I do. I totally understand this hard choice. But for each of them, their orientation to the sport is a little bit different, and they both examined carefully what matters most to them, and they both, I think, made correct choices in this case. So looking back at freedom, we have so many sometimes contradictory desires banging around in our hearts, it's difficult to decipher. We want to be popular, but we want to be honest. You know, we want to be of service, yet we want rest and leisure. We want to make money, yet we want our jobs to be meaningful. How do we know which desires are ordered and which of them are a little out of whack? Second, which personal attachments or fears of mine could be preventing me from making my best choices? That's what this chapter is all about. I'm sure you'll see soon, and I hope that you enjoy reading about it. In the end, what we hope for is to constantly move closer and closer and closer to our light. And what is that light for us? What is it that anchors our lives from the ground up, that makes our decision making easier and easier as we become more habituated at it? And that's what this chapter is about. Enjoy.